Welcome. Today we are diving deep into the really complex and honestly fascinating world of Hindu family property law. We're going to be digging into some historical principles that, believe it or not, still have an impact in courtrooms today. So let's get right into it. Okay, just think about this for a second. Your entire family pools its resources, they invest in you, they help you build this amazing career. So, does that mean your success, your salary, actually belongs to everyone? It's a huge question, right? It really gets to the heart of this tension between family and the individual, and it's exactly what we're going to explore today. So here's our game plan. First, we're going to tackle what I'm calling the Coparcenary puzzle. Then we'll get into this wild, kind of mind-bending idea of a family within a family. After that, we'll hit the big one, the link between your education, your earnings, and who really owns them. And to wrap it all up, we'll look at how the law itself had to evolve to keep up with the times. All right, to even begin to get our heads around this stuff, we have to start at the very foundation of Hindu joint family property. It's this concept called the coparcenary. And trust me, it is the key that unlocks everything else we're going to talk about. Okay, so picture a big extended joint family. That's the Hindu undivided family, or HUF. Now, inside that large group, there's a smaller core unit. That's the coparcenary. These are the people who have a direct right from the moment they are born to the family's ancestral property. It's not about who's older or who earns more. It's a right you're literally born with. But what happens when this core group starts to have its own families? And this is where it gets really, really interesting. The law actually has a way to handle this. It recognizes that a new, smaller family unit can form inside the bigger one. It's almost like a legal version of that movie Inception, right? A dream within a dream, or in this case, a family within a family. And it has a name, a coparcenary within a coparcenary, or a CWC. The easiest way to think about it is like a parent company and its subsidiaries. The main large family is the parent company, but when one branch of that family gets its specific share of the property, that branch can form its own new distinct business, a subsidiary, all while technically still being part of the bigger corporate family. Okay, let's spend a second with this diagram, because this visual is going to make it all click. At the very top, you see A. He's the common ancestor. He has two sons, B1 and B2. Now just follow the line down from B1. B1 has three of his own sons, C1, C2, and C3. And then C1 has two sons, D1 and D2. As it stands right now, every single person here is part of one big property group. But watch what happens next. So here's the absolute crucial moment. When C1 dies, his specific piece of the family pie passes down to his sons, D1 and D2. The second that happens, D1 and D2 now form their own new, smaller coparcenary. They have officially become a CWC. They now hold that property together, separate from their uncles, C2 and C3. It's a new, nested family unit inside the old one. And look, this isn't just some abstract theory. It is settled law. A really important case from 1962, Bhagwan Dayal versus MST Rodi Devi, set a very firm rule. You can't just have, say, a cousin from one branch and a cousin from another decide to team up and form their own little unit. The law is super clear. Only an entire branch of the family, like all of C1's descendants, can form one of these new subordinate joint families. Okay, so we've got a handle on how property is shared. But what about wealth that's created by one person? This brings us to a really fascinating and, for a long time, very controversial part of the law, the fight over something called the gains of learning. Let's make this real for a moment. Imagine your family foots the bill for your expensive university degree. You graduate, you get a great, high-paying job. So who does that money belong to? Is it yours? Or does it belong to the family that paid for the education that made it all possible? For a very long time, the law had an answer that might really surprise you. You see, under the old rule, there was this critical difference. If your family just paid for your basic schooling, your earnings were your own, no problem. But if the joint family's money was used to give you a specialized education, we're talking sending you to become a doctor, an engineer, a lawyer, well, then any income you made from that special training was considered part of the family's pot. A famous case brings this to life perfectly. Let's look at the case of Gokul Chand versus Hukum Chand. Here's the story. A joint family uses its ancestral money to send one of the members to London for a world-class education. He does incredibly well, becomes a high-ranking officer in the prestigious Indian civil service. But later on, the family gets into debt, and the people they owe money to, they go after his salary, arguing that it's a family asset. And here is the absolute bombshell. The highest court at the time, the Privy Council, actually agreed with the creditors. They ruled that because his special education was paid for by the family property, his high salary was, and I quote, part of the joint family asset. His income could be taken to pay off his family's debts. I mean, can you even imagine that happening today? It's wild. Well, as you can probably guess, a ruling like that sent shockwaves. It just felt completely wrong for a modernizing world, a world that was starting to really value individual talent and hard work. Society and the legal system knew that something had to give. And this comparison just lays it out so perfectly. Before 1930, the money you earned from that special family-funded education, it went into the family pot. After 1930, the rule was flipped completely upside down. All earnings from any education, no matter who paid for it, were now considered the individual's own self-acquired property. It was nothing short of a legal revolution. This huge change was brought about by one very powerful new law, the Hindu Gains of Learning Act of 1930. This act was written specifically to kill that old doctrine. It completely overrode the ruling from the Gokul case, and it made it crystal clear. Your knowledge and the money you make from it are yours, not a family asset. And, this legal shift towards individual ownership didn't just stop in 1930. Fast forward to a case in 1988, Yudhishthir versus Ashok Kumar. This case took it another step further. It basically said that when a son inherits property directly from his father, it's treated as his own separate property. That means his own kids don't automatically have a birthright claim to it. It's yet another clear move away from the old joint family idea and towards protecting individual property rights. So all of this leaves us with a really deep question for today, doesn't it? We've gone on this journey from a world where your salary could literally belong to your extended family to a world that celebrates what an individual can achieve on their own. The legal trend is obvious, but the cultural conversation is still happening. How should our modern laws and, just us as people, find that perfect balance between honoring those traditions of family obligation while also fueling that powerful spirit of individual ambition? It's a puzzle that our laws and our families are still figuring out.